Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely fascinating biological mystery. We're looking at the hidden engine of cancer, a process called angiogenesis, and more importantly, exactly how we can starve it. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a question that completely upends how we normally think about illness. What if you already have cancer right now, but it literally never makes you sick? For most of us, cancer is pretty binary, right? You either have it and you're sick, or you don't and you're healthy. But biology, well, it's rarely that simple. What if I told you that microscopic cancer seeds form inside almost all of us throughout our entire lives, yet the vast majority of these seeds never turn into a dangerous disease? Sounds shocking, I know, but it is an undeniable medical reality.
To ground this in some hard facts, autopsy studies of people who died from causes completely unrelated to cancer reveal something just staggering. Get this, about 40% of women in their 40s and 50s have microscopic early-stage cancer seeds in their breasts. Half of all men in their 50s and 60s harbor tiny prostate cancers. And by the time we hit 70 and older, almost 100% of people have small cancer seeds in their thyroid glands. These microscopic clusters of abnormal cells are incredibly common. It's basically a universal human condition. Yet, for most of these folks, those seeds just sat there. They remain totally harmless. So, the big question is, why?
The answer to that mystery comes down to a biological mechanism known as angiogenesis. Now, angio means blood vessel, and genesis means creation. So angiogenesis is simply the process our body uses to build and maintain blood vessels across all our tissues. We've got over 60,000 miles of blood vessels inside us, and the amount and balance of these vessels are intricately, beautifully controlled. This single biological system acts as the ultimate gatekeeper. It's the exact mechanism that decides whether those tiny, dormant cancer seeds we just talked about stay completely harmless or whether they wake up and become a real threat.
To really understand how this works, let's look at the system when it's healthy. When you get injured, say you get a paper cut on your finger, your body instantly knows it needs to send oxygen and nutrients to heal that wound, so it releases special proteins called angiogenesis factors. Think of these like a biological construction crew rushing in to build new capillaries. But what happens next is absolutely crucial. Once that wound is healed, your body releases angiogenesis inhibitors. This essentially shuts off the supply line and stops any more blood vessels from growing. It is a brilliantly tight, highly regulated balancing act between building new vessels and stopping them.
But, unfortunately, here is where the story changes. Cancer cells cleverly hijack this exact system. You see, a microscopic cancer seed literally cannot grow larger than the tip of a ballpoint pen without its own blood supply. It's starving for nutrients. So a mutated cancer cell exploits the angiogenesis system by pumping out massive amounts of those growth factors. It's exactly like hacking a city's infrastructure to build a vast private highway system straight to its own front door. By doing this, the cancer steals the nutrients it needs to multiply out of control. And to make matters worse, these newly built fragile capillaries give those cancer cells a direct on-ramp into your bloodstream to metastasize and spread to other parts of the body.
This brings us to a monumental shift in how we approach this entire illness. It's a concept called cancer without disease. This brilliant framing was actually coined by Dr. Judah Folkman, who is an absolute legend and world-renowned pioneer in angiogenesis research. Dr. Folkman realized something profound. If a tumor cannot establish that private blood supply, it just can't grow. It stays isolated, dormant, and totally harmless. This paradigm shift is huge because it pivots our narrative completely away from fear and points us straight toward hope. Because if we can just control the blood supply, we can keep cancer safely locked in a dormant state.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. If angiogenesis is kept in check by our natural inhibitors, cancer cells cannot grow and they cannot threaten our lives. Our innate ability to block blood vessel growth is the exact thing preventing those tiny, dormant cancer seeds from ever becoming an issue. Think of your body's natural defense system as a specialized, elite task force that's constantly patrolling your tissues. It's just going around, snipping away rogue blood vessels and cutting off supply lines to microscopic tumors long before they ever get a chance to take root. Modern medicine has totally capitalized on this specific weakness to create life-saving treatments. When our body's natural inhibitors just aren't enough, doctors now use powerful angiogenesis inhibitor drugs. Take Avastin, for example. It's highly effective for colorectal cancer because it specifically targets and blocks a growth factor called VEGF. There are also drugs like Cyramza and Zaltrap, which are used across colorectal, gastric, breast, and lung cancers. Now, these don't act like traditional toxic chemotherapy. Instead, they successfully shrink tumors by quite literally starving them. They just snip that blood supply the tumor desperately needs to survive.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is where the science heads from here. It is truly fascinating. Beyond pharmaceuticals, groundbreaking research by the American physician and scientist Dr. William Lee reveals that we can actually maximize our body's angiogenesis defense system through our diet. His experiments show that certain everyday foods can inhibit angiogenesis as powerfully as, and in some lab tests, literally more than, anti-cancer medications. I mean, this is an incredibly empowering realization. It means that 3 times a day, every single time we eat, we have the opportunity to actively reinforce our body's natural ability to starve microscopic cancer cells, just by choosing the right ingredients.
So let's look at 3 specific foods that act as these powerful inhibitors, starting with the first one, soy. Soy is absolutely packed with bioactive substances known as isoflavones, which are incredible at stopping abnormal blood vessel growth. Within soy, there's a highly potent compound called genistein that is heavily documented for its anti-angiogenic effects. And for those of you looking to really maximize these benefits, you want to look at fermented soy products. Think traditional Japanese foods like natto, tofu, and miso. They contain even higher, much more bioavailable concentrations of these protective isoflavones.
Now, before we move on, we have to clear up a major, widespread misconception. You have probably heard the myth that soy acts like estrogen in the body and actually fuels breast cancer. This whole idea comes from the fact that soy isoflavones are structurally kind of similar to estrogen, which earned them the tricky name phytoestrogens. But modern research has proven this myth completely wrong. In reality, major studies on breast cancer survivors showed that those with the highest soy consumption actually have a significantly reduced risk of recurrence and mortality. Plus, large-scale data from Japan shows that women who consume more miso soup have a noticeably lower chance of developing breast cancer in the first place. Bottom line, soy is a protector, not a fuel.
Moving on to our second food, garlic. Garlic's health reputation is definitely not just an old wives' tale. It is grounded in some very serious science. Way back in 1990, the U.S. National Cancer Institute launched a project called Designer Foods to figure out which plants prevent cancer, and they placed garlic at the very top of their pyramid as the most effective food. The real secret weapon inside garlic is a compound called diallysulfide. It delivers amazingly potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, and it powerfully suppresses cancer development by directly starving those rogue blood vessels we've been talking about.
Our third category is definitely a delicious one, berries. We're talking strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, cranberries, the whole shebang. These colorful fruits are absolute powerhouses when it comes to suppressing angiogenesis. They're loaded with specific bioactive compounds that actively jam the signals tumors send out to attract blood vessels. For instance, when a microscopic cancer cell releases that growth factor VEGF to build its private road network, the compounds found in these everyday berries act like biological roadblocks. They effectively shut down the entire construction process.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can tie all of this together into a really practical mental model. We have soy armed with genistein, garlic delivering diallysulfide, and berries packed with anthocyanin and ellagic acid. What we're talking about here isn't just a basic grocery list of healthy foods, it is a strategic map of active biological weapons. By consciously working these specific bioactives into our daily meals, we are directly handing our immune system the exact chemical tools it needs to maintain a perfectly healthy angiogenesis balance.
Which brings us to this final, provocative thought. We started out today learning that microscopic cancer seeds are highly common, basically universal. But we've also seen that our bodies are equipped with this elegant, powerful system to keep them totally harmless. And the best part? You have the power to influence that system. So ask yourself, will your very next meal be the one that cuts off the supply lines to hidden cancer cells? You really don't have to wait for a diagnosis to start fighting back. You can walk right into your kitchen today, armed with this knowledge of angiogenesis, and actively participate in your own cellular defense. Thank you so much for diving deep with me in this explainer, and I truly hope this empowers you to make your next meal a powerful one.